Hello and welcome to today's daily response video. I'm Zara, creative producer for People Make It Work, and today I am delighted to be joined by one of our associates, Anna Dinnen. Hello, Anna. Lovely.
Hi, Zara.
Thank you so much for being here and agreeing to share you and some of your perspective in this current time that we find ourselves in. In finding out about Anna and getting to know Anna, she has been described as a strategic visionary and has a particular passion in supporting organisations and people to be future fit. So I'm really excited to delve into that with you a little bit today. But first of all, how are you in this moment? How does this moment find you?
Hi, Zara. Thank you. If I'm honest, this has been a bit of a weird week. I find this kind of flitting back and forth between the kind of home mode and the or homeschooling mode and work mode and stuff quite tricky. But it's the word I would use is I felt on Monday was like discombobulated, partly because I just love that word, but also just this sense of strangeness again. You know, it feels like we've been going through these quite often, but around purpose in our house, and suddenly lots of the family are all sitting in their Zoom rooms doing their study and with an enormous sense of purpose. And I was kind of like, oh, I'm back to being school mom again. But that, you know, it just takes a bit of getting used to. And I guess it kind of reminded me of the value of doing this kind of chunking out, which I often talk about in terms of planning and managing change and stuff, is, you know, how to break stuff down into really small chunks so that you know what you're working to, but also more importantly making sure that that work fits towards some kind of a goal. There's no point in just having a sort of endless list of actions. So this week my goal is to try and get my youngest to work a little bit more independently when we're doing the homeschooling, but it was kind of salutary because it also, I've had a bit more contact with people who've been working in fellow this week, and I think that it's a good thing for me to struggle with that sense of purpose and what that must be like, because I think this is a really tricky time for the distinction between those who are working flat out within an organisation to produce loads of stuff or to rethink or reconfigure stuff, and for those who suddenly find themselves at home. You know, often some of us are sort of defined to a large extent by some of our work activity, and that could be really sort of disorienting when it's gone, or when that moment has gone or feels like it's gone. And it made me think a lot about how we prepare to be playing that relay with each other. So we're in it for the long game. We know we're going to have to regroup at some point and hand back over. The people who've been working flat out are going to need a break. The people who haven't been working are going to need to catch up really quickly. How do we do that, like baton passing, as quickly and efficiently as we possibly can? And it made me think about a lot of the change that we see, and we see people driving. Your mental processes move on so much as you're kind of enacting the change and on a daily basis thinking things through. And then you realise that you suddenly moved like 3 miles ahead of everyone else, and there comes this moment where everyone has to play catch up. There's something really important about capturing your thinking, not just the decisions that you reach, but actually capturing how your thinking is developing and being able to pass that story back on to people. So when we get together back in our teams and sort of pick up again with each other in person, we've got something that will help that conversation, help the handover, help the easing back in and the playing catch up with different people's thinking. So I thought that was just something really important there about capturing that process of our developing thoughts as much as is feasible anyway. So so trying to think purposefully about this time, having some goals. The other thing that I suppose has been my little technique for seeing myself through is I kind of have this idea about banking stuff. I have my little moments where I try and bank the good, bank what's been really good, what I've managed to do. It's not just things like actions and things like that, but or money that's magically hit the bank account instead of all going out. But it might be, what have I learned? I mean, that seems to me like a massive opportunity, is thinking, what am I learning through this? What is this very deep, different, unusual time telling us, or telling me, and what can I take from that? What information have I gathered that will help me into the long term? What sort of support networks or generosity or, you know, advice, whatever, have I accessed that I didn't think was going to be possible? All these things, I think, when I start to do that kind of exercise of realizing how much there is, it kind of helps me then refocus for those next steps and the next goals, and sort of shifts that sort of thinking around purpose a little bit more.
Yeah, I really love that analogy of banking, that technique, that it, I also refer it to your previous point about being really mindful about where people are at, you know, almost already thinking a little bit about when we get to the point of reintegration, and the fact that at the moment we should be banking the memories of what this process is like, so that we can come back in a compassionate way. And then also banking, you know, as you said, banking the learnings that you're personally developing and the insights that you're personally developing during this time. I wondered if you could share with us how you bank.
Uh, I made lots of mind maps and pictures and loads of scribbles. Actually, it's as simple as that. Sometimes it's even just you know, I go for a walk and it's kind of mental exercise to do. Is like, what it's the act of drawing attention to these things, I think, is really, really important, and it makes you realise that there's more. There's more surplus than deficit. You know, you can feel lost or at a loss, or that you've lost something. And what I really like about the banking thing is that there's still something there, something to be grateful for. And I think, you know, there's nothing like change or disruption to help you learn about yourself. I mean, that it exposes parts of you, some of which you like and other bits maybe less so, but and actually about organizations, I think, as well, when you're connecting to other people, that teaches you an awful lot about, or offers up different aspects of the organization that you work in, or your colleagues, you know, partner organizations or people that you work with. So yeah, and I think it's something about, it's almost like you take a photo, or, you know, that's the kind of process that I'm talking about. It's like you just capture it, because that very act of drawing attention helps it stay. And I sort of firmly believe that even if you don't make anything particularly big of it, the fact that it's entered your subconscious, it will be there for the long term. It's something that's, you know, won't just sort of in a blink of an eye disappear. It's sort of there because you've grounded it in a little moment of observation.
Yeah, thank you so much for that. I think it's going to be a really useful tool. Is there like a pearl of wisdom or anything that you would like to speak to more or leave us with today?
Well, if I'm allowed to leave you with a bit of poetry, I maybe wouldn't read the whole thing, but there's a fab poem that came to my attention, called Keeping Quiet by Pablo Neruda. It's a really beautiful poem. It starts, "Now we'll count 12 and we will all keep still." And there's a bit, he goes on to say, "It would be an exotic moment, without rush, without engines. We would all be together in a sudden strangeness." And I just thought that, you know, I think that's lovely. And then, you know, there's another bit a bit further on where he says, "Perhaps the earth can teach us, as when everything seems dead and later proves to be alive." And I thought that was a really lovely kind of metaphor for the fact that, you know, a lot of theatres or buildings or museums, whatever, are closed. It feels like, you know, it's a bit like kind of winter, if you know what I mean, things aren't seen. But soon we'll be seeing the seeds kind of popping up, and all the work that people are busy doing, all the thinking that people are busy doing, all the self-recovery and self-care that people are busy with at the moment is just quietly there. And at the moment, when we're ready, it will be like spring all over again.
That's beautiful. I think, you know, it's like this time we're kind of we're in like a fertilization phase, ready for new growth, like nourishment, and that growth and rebirth and new beginnings will come from this.
Hope so. I think so, and I think it's just, you know, we have to take permission to have that small quiet moment of looking after ourselves as well. I think in order to be ready for when things start to ease up and get a bit easier.
Yeah. Anna, thank you so much, and I hope that we will hear from you again really, really soon.
Thank you. Thank you.
Bye.